2001 in Athens, Georgia, where I was a freshman at the University of Georgia. You know, like most freshmen, you go out drinking a lot, and this particular Friday night was no different. We were out drinking at a Clayton Street there in Athens, Georgia, which, if you're familiar, has a lot of bars. And one of my friends from my hometown of Albany was visiting, so we decided to hit a bar called Last Call, which was kind of known as the freshman bar, the bar where all the young, perhaps underage kids could get in and drink with a fake ID. I don't know. I may have partook in that, and they happened to be having a real-world bar crawl. I didn't watch the real world. My friend was very familiar. He immediately recognized somebody he called the Miz, and he kept saying, "Oh, dude, it's the Miz. We got to drink with the Miz." And I was like, "Okay, who's this Miz guy?" And we get to meet him. He's like basically cool as hell, drinks with us. I have a picture with him chugging a pitcher of MGD, which was the popular drink at the time. But we hung out, and he hung out with us for maybe an hour. We just got pretty shit-faced with the Miz. And then that was that. We called it kind of an earlier evening because the next morning I was supposed to be flying out to visit my brother in California. You know, I was a little bit hungover when I was driving to the airport, and I get to the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, and I come up the escalator after coming through security, and who's sitting there in the concourse by himself but the Miz? And I come up the escalator, and he stands up and holds his arms out, and he says, "Nick, you're alive." Like, he beckons me over. I sit down next to him in the concourse, the Delta concourse there, and he just shoots the shit with me for 5 or 10 minutes like he's a friend of mine after just hanging out the night before, and honestly, everybody being drunk, and this guy was kind of a celebrity at the time. You know, I just thought it was like said so much about the guy.
Yeah, I pictured that in a movie scenario. That was straight out of a movie, which is the calls that I love. The movie calls. I think I'm going to call them from now on. That was a movie call. Very fun. Miz wasn't even in wrestling at that point. He was an MTV superstar. And you can imagine these guys were doing this every single week. I'm almost going to say every single night. I think the money was probably so good. The real world, the road rules, it was so hot at that time. These guys were just getting paid to go and drink at bars. Side note, I was on an MTV show in 2006 called Wrestling Society X, and I remember hoping and praying that it kicked off and got so big that I could wrestle independent shows on the weekend and then do bar appearances, much like the Road Rules and Real World people, during the week. I mean, our show was right after Viva La Bam. Viva La Bam was our kick-in, and you better believe Bam Margera was doing these kind of appearances, making side money. So I was like, that's the dream. Wrestle on the weekend, side money during the week, maybe even go to the bar and watch the shows as Matt Classic, even if it's $150. If I can make a couple $150 paydays during the week, $150 paydays on the weekend, sell some merchandise, I'm living fine, baby. But the Miz was living more than fine. Drinks every night, I'm sure thousands of dollars for those appearances, and then look what he's turned it into, and has remained a good guy. Another one who's on the Art of Wrestling podcasts. I remember we had some moments where he was really truthfully telling me his story, telling me who he was, and you could see deep down a good dude. And you guys had a connection. Listen, if he's going to remember your name, he liked you. He liked your group. He liked your people. You could still be friends to this day. I'm blaming you for not keeping that connection closer together. You should have exchanged, at that time, MSN Messenger handles or AIM names. You should have kept in touch, but you didn't. What could have been? A 20-year friendship with Mike the Miz Mizanin from the Real World Road Rules Challenge. Also a WWE champion. But more importantly, the guy who went to the bars, got paid, and became your friend. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe. While you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.